Ellie, what's gone on? You okay? Have you taken something? Sit down for me. Sit down. Ellie, what's happened? I know. I'll help you. Shall we get you an ambulance? Yeah, let's get you an ambulance.
It is an extraordinary story. A story which left a town shaken to its core.
What's it going to take for you lot to act a dead child?
Ellie Williams claimed she was being raped, tortured and exploited at the hands of an Asian grooming gang.
There isn't that many Asians in the town, so that's where everybody started looking at them thinking, oh my God, this was one of you.
They started taking me parties instead of just one or two men, people.
I couldn't do anything to stop it happening.
I'm angry with the police. If I'm a bad person, you have to investigate me.
We're a little town. We don't often hear of things like this happening here.
Barrow was torn in two.
I felt, hang on a sec, we need to find out the truth.
Between the people who believed Ellie had been a victim of an Asian grooming gang.
I had no doubt in my mind whatsoever. This has happened.
And those who felt it was an elaborate racist lie.
This girl is a serial liar.
The people should be aware of every Muslim business in this town that's being used to groom young children.
A community torn in two.
We're not doing it no more. We've all got children.
Not knowing what or who to believe.
And I can say that an individual has been charged with some offences.
I do think there's some truth in it somewhere. And she's trying to be seen and to be heard.
Welcome to Barrow. Yeah, the land that time forgot, I tell you. Yeah.
Oh, that's the nuclear submarine yards. The hub of Barrow-in-Furness. This is where they make nuclear submarine ships. Yeah, it's a very rough and ready kind of town. You can't pass through Barrow. You got to go there for a purpose, you know.
Know your escape route because there's one road in and one road out.
Yeah.
It was a good night out. Just drinks at home first, and then to all the nightclubs.
Mr. Khalil!
You know, walk down the street and it's, you know, oh, hiya.
This is the thing about Barrow. This is what you get. Everywhere you'll go, the person you'll talk about, they'll come in front of you. And it's real people, genuine people.
Everybody knows everything. Or they think they know everything, and then they add their little bit on, and then before you know it, it's wildfire.
It was just such a great community. But then this lady puts on a Facebook post, and this town has never been the same again.
I didn't want to share this because I'm scared of the judgment that will come with it. When people have asked me why I have a black eye or bruises, I've made every excuse, from falling over to banging it on a door. This has been years of me being trafficked to have sex with Asian men.
Whichever man was willing to pay the most money, you go with.
They have beaten me on multiple occasions. I will continue telling the police everything I know and helping them to fix this.
Say that with their pictures, under their control. to do what they're to do what we're told to do on lives like those.
These are real photos taken of me during this abuse. They have broken my ribs, split my ear, cut my throat, stabbed me, burnt me, beaten me black and blue. You are welcome to share this story. If it helps just one person, it will make everything worthwhile.
I first saw the Facebook page that Ellie posted. Stood in the kitchen at home. It was absolutely shocking. She's battered and bruised, and she's wrote this huge essay. Just looking at it, reading it, thinking, well, what the hell has happened to her?
People need to know about this local and very real issue.
When I looked at it, I just sat there in disbelief. Obviously, all my Barrow friends just suddenly started posting, sharing all this. It was like an explosion on my Facebook, basically.
Have you seen this post?
What on earth is going on?
Does anyone know what has happened to this poor girl?
It's big news for a little town. We don't often hear of things like this happening here.
Yesterday, I was put in the back of a car and taken to an address to have sex with 3 Asian men.
When I saw the post initially, it was like, Anne-Marie, come see this.
Our first thoughts was, there's a grooming gang in Barrow. It was just a huge shock to the town, really.
Everyone meet at the Hollywood car park.
There's a rally going on for Ellie Williams.
We're driving to Ulverston and back again.
If you haven't already got one, come and get one of these. Put it in your car. Support.
Bearing in mind we're in COVID, right? Within the day, there was rallies all over in the town. Cars beeping horns and people shouting and shouting and shouting, saying, what is going on?
Justice!
We had Justice for Ellie rallies right down the main road where we live. And it was just stickers, flags, the big banners, what people make, just shouting out the windows, Justice for Ellie. Like the whole time, just beeping the horns. There was no chance we were going out when all that was happening.
People were quite angry and agitated.
If this was happening, you know, why were the police? Where were the council? Where were where was the MP? Where's everybody? You know.
One of my friends phoned me and was like, have you seen what Ellie's posted on Facebook? So I opened Facebook and we read it and we saw all the pictures and, oh, I was just mortified that like something like that was going on where I lived. It's like, everybody knew her. Me and Ellie were in the same year group and she was just quite nice. She had lovely long hair. That's one thing me and my friends used to talk about all the time. She had the longest hair, and it was just so pretty all the time. She hung out with like a specific set of girls. There's always that one group that just sticks together. And I remember they used to always throw parties. And then as time went on, She just kept coming in and she'd have black eyes and like very obvious bruises like on her face. Like it wasn't something she could hide. But also, when the Facebook post came out, I was speaking to a friend who was really close with Ellie. And she told me how she'd been out on a night out with her and she'd been there when the guys had kind of tried to force her to go back with them. And her friend kind of dragged her away and like made Ellie stay with her so that nothing happened kind of thing. So yeah, I had no doubt in my mind whatsoever. This has happened.
Hello. Hold on, I can't hear you very well.
Hello.
Hi, he's here. Hey. So, what's the latest, guys?
We would see ourselves as basically, you know, amateur investigators.
I'm of the opinion that they're just using it as an excuse.
We set up the group in 2019 to campaign for justice for a missing 14-year-old child from Blackpool called Charlene Downs.
The murder of 14-year-old Charlene Downs back in 2003 exposed the dark, seedy side of this northern seaside resort where grooming was part of life many years before it hit the headlines.
Charlene's case is seeped in sexual abuse and grooming. So Ellie's case, hearing the details, seeing the pictures, very much kind of played into what was going on in Charlene's case. So I posted Ellie's post up on my group. I was like, right, we need to have a look at what Ellie's saying here.
I used to believe these people loved me. I realise now that they used me for their own gain and profit.
I just thought, oh my goodness, it's happening again. When you look at the other grooming gang cases that we had covered, Ellie's story was following the same pattern.
They decided that I don't learn from being battered. So they decided to try and cut my finger off. People need to be looking out for young girls and protecting them.
Yeah, it was crazy. I got pretty angry and thought, oh my God, absolutely. Somebody's got to help this poor girl.
When investigating a case like this, it's all about establishing the facts. What do we know? What happened when? And who were the people involved?
According to all of Ellie's Facebook posts around this, it was a group of Asian men grooming, raping and torturing her.
And then we found out a few names.
And then you also had lists being passed around of businesses that were supposedly connected to this as well.
So we started looking into these people, all these businesses. But you know what? I don't think any of us could have predicted what was going to go on. It blew all of our minds.
He asked me to do a favour for him, well not for him, for one of his mates who wanted sex. And then he said it wasn't happening again, it was just a one-off, but then it wasn't a one-off.
These men will promise you the world and deliver nothing. They know how to manipulate, convince, and threaten girls into staying. And when they can, they use extreme violence.
It was about 5:30 in the evening, and I got an email from somebody I'd never met before, never heard of, saying, I think you should check out what's going on in Barrow. First of all, I read the initial post which sparked this, and it was really, really harrowing. And I think I really had in mind a lot of what she said, kind of rang true from what we know about other grooming scandals, particularly those that took place around the north of England.
In Telford, hundreds of children were groomed, raped and trafficked.
In Rochdale, 47 girls were abused.
8 men have been jailed for a total of 96 years for sexually abusing teenage girls in Rotherham.
These trials are the latest in a series of convictions of grooming gangs across the country.
You have to remember that a lot of these grooming scandals took place in the years leading up to Ellie's Facebook post. As a news reporter in the north of England, I devoted several years of my life to covering those cases. It was really interesting, actually, because prior to these stories coming out, we didn't really hear the term grooming, or not in this context anyway, and that's when the first cases went through the court. And there was also this sense that some people in authority were unwilling to challenge this predatory behaviour for risk of being accused of being racist.
In Rotherham, hundreds of young girls had their lives torn apart, failed by the police, by social services, failed by men who abused them.
I am a victim of sexual assault and very similar circumstances to what Ellie posted. The abuse to me happened in Rotherham, and even when it started, there were plans for me to be like a prostitute. But at the time, I didn't realise that. I was sexually assaulted, abused. He raped me a number of times. And I was pregnant. He knew I was pregnant. He just really messed with my head. It was like I was looking out in, it wasn't really me, but it was me. I went to the police and said, this person's done this to me. They just sent me back home with my mum and dad, collected stuff from the property, and that were it, gone. Nobody listened. It was surreal. 20 years later, there's no getting away from what happened to me. There's no justice, there never will be. And now it's happening all over again.
These are local men and men from takeaways. These are mostly Pakistani men and some are business owners.
I took my kids out to the park, just bought them some trikes, and I was on the way back home, literally on the road that I live. And Adam rang me, my friend. He's like, there's a post on Facebook and I think you're implicated because of the way it's been worded. There's not many other Asian business owners in Barrow. So when I saw the post, I was like, how's this happened? I couldn't wrap my head around it. But there was a Snapchat which I got sent. I had all the names of the businesses that was involved with Ellie's grooming. And it named my business. Not only that, someone I personally know, they had a screenshot of a message between them and Ellie where she said she's stuck in them thoroughly. My restaurant, apparently the police attended because she was stuck upstairs or something like that. Obviously when I read that, I was confused, like, she's been in here, what's going on? A screenshot showed these messages got sent a couple of months before the post. So I spoke to, people who work for me, started asking questions. And what I've learned was that night, apparently she was just having a cigarette around the back of the shop. Yeah, so this is the upstairs flat that apparently that she was stuck. So what I did was I sat my staff down and I said, was she here? Who was at the time? The staff member that she was having a cigarette with no longer worked for us. So there was one staff member that lived with him at the time, and I asked him, do you remember seeing this female? Showed him a picture of her. Don't remember her. Never seen her in my life. I'm like, right, okay. Rang the staff member and I said, what happened? He's like, well, she came over for a cigarette. She worked across the road. She wanted a light or something like that. I was like, yeah, that's no problem. I was like, did the police turn up? He was, yeah. Did they speak to you? He's like, no, not really. They were speaking to her mainly. And I spoke to the actual officer that turned up on that particular night, and I asked her, what had happened? And she said, well, we had reports that she was stuck, but she was here of her own free will. We spoke to her. She was under no harm, under no distress or anything like that. I was like, did you want to speak to the gentleman that was with her at the night? I said, no, because we have no grounds to speak to him under because nothing had happened. She was having a cigarette and that's it, and she left. So nothing happened.
I saw Ellie banging on the window above one of the takeaways. We called the police, but nothing happened.
Another victim ignored by the cops.
I kept going back to Ellie's post, and reading comments, because I was like, oh my God, what's kind of going on? There were loads of people there saying that the police have failed or haven't bothered to investigate properly. Just like what they did in Charlene Downs' case, and just like what they did in Rochdale. What else I noticed, when I first looked at that post, there was hardly any comments and hardly any likes. When I revisited that post later on, it had gone viral.
Belfast is behind you, Ellie.
Newcastle supports Ellie Williams. Liverpool supports all grooming victims.
Big demo being organised today in Manchester to support Ellie and say enough is enough. We need to stop Asian men grooming our girls.
They're telling the truth about the grooming gangs. Look at the photos of Ellie Williams, smashed up and battered.
You've got people all over the country now turning around calling for the Asian business owners in Barrow to be locked up, calling for their blood, calling for them to be hung, drawn and quartered, trying to find out where they've lived.
I also started noticing a lot of people that we had seen get involved in other cases making comments.
How dare they touch our girls?
This is what happens when you let them into our country.
Asian men again, for fuck's sake.
A lot of it was obviously intended to stoke racial tension.
We've seen this time and time again where the far right have took up the reins, so I knew what were going to come.
was in debt to these men for not attending parties. The organisers decided to beat me to teach me a lesson, waving a knife around saying they would kill me. They have stripped me naked, beaten me, and dumped me in the middle of nowhere with nothing.
So I had people messaging me, "You fucking subhuman cousin fucking scum. You're fucking dead. You fucking maggots. You have 5 years left in this country, tops, until you are all burnt alive, you fucking animals." That's just one of... I've got a lot more messages. Barrow's a small town. I've lived here all my life. Everyone kind of knows everyone. I was the only Asian child in the whole school, and there was never any talk about culture or anything like that. Like my friends, they didn't make me feel any different whatsoever. They made me feel I was the same as them. But after Ellie's Facebook post, what affected me the most was people that actually knew me were saying stuff like they were kind of believing I might have been involved, but just that's the bit that affected me the most, I'd say. You know, we had local people were walking past, spitting out the window, shouting racist abuse. I started getting calls. I answered the phone. "We're gonna come get you. We've just seen the post, it's used." And I was just like, "No, it isn't." And they're like, "I know where you live. I know who you are. I know you've got 2 kids. And I know who your wife is." And what they said to me was, "We're going to rape your wife in front of your kids." That night, our window got smashed. I know another local business, they had their window smashed in as well.
So they broke front windows, back windows, and the bathroom as well. Bathroom window, all our windows are broken. And then people are ignoring me. I don't done anything, like why the people are blaming me? I came to Barrow, I got opportunity to find one place for the Indian takeaway. I was so happy. I've got families, I've got business, like everybody does, like happy life, happy families. When this Ellie William happened, they mentioned all Asians. I said to myself, asking, so who done this? I want to help. So I contact all of the friend I know in Barrow. Does anyone know who done this to Ellie?
A lot of people are saying Mo Rami is behind it.
Mo Rami, the ice cream guy.
I know Mo Rami. He's got some business in Barrow, selling ice cream.
Mo Rami owns the town. He's a gangster.
He's involved in drugs. Everyone knows his dodgy past.
Everyone's heard the rumours about him and his ice cream van.
You've all picked on the wrong Asian fella. That's what I'm telling you. Let's see who feels harassed now. Let's see who's feeling harassed by the coloured guy in town. Picking on Asian, picking on coloured, picking on Muslims. This is absolutely wrong. I want to floor you. One of the major things I think in Barrow, everybody thinks they know Rami. You know, everyone knows Rami, or everyone's got a story about Rami, but nobody actually knows me. You know my name, but you don't know my story. And that's the way I see it. There's only one more Rami, and that's me. I'm a big personality. And when you're confident, people are scared of you. To me, I'm here to do business. I'm a risk taker, and that sometimes pay off, sometimes don't. After the post, I seen hundreds of messages here, and it absolutely knocked me for six. Hate messages. I've had a lot of hate messages. I wasn't scared. I was angry. And I hope all you people of Barrow-in-Furness that are not going to be, that were there first to judge, hang your heads in shame. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm not here to upset anybody. This is now me protecting myself, protecting my honour, my dignity, my family name, right, my children, because this is life-destroying. The truth is, there's only one more Rami. The truth is, I ain't any of them things that you're saying. I don't do any of them things you say. All of you that have said horrible things to me, owe me an apology. Hang your heads in shame without any facts or anything. Because it's on Facebook, it's true. It's on Facebook, it's right, isn't it? Because Karen said it's right, it's on Facebook. Bob said it's right because it's on Facebook. Jim said it's right, it's on Facebook. So it's right. Come on, use your nuggets. Have you got anything up there? If you haven't, go to Warnley Beach, take a good air of oxygen inside you and make that thing work. I ain't going to rest till I get apologies from all of yous.
Rami completely denied being one of the Asian men involved, but I seen the videos.
You're absolutely fucking vile people. Shame on your family that you're peddling this. A so-called victim, a survivor.
To be honest, Mo's not my cup of tea.
You picked on the wrong guy. I will not stop. No one can bring me down. Because I got Allah behind me, I got God behind me, and I got justice behind me, I got honesty behind me, I got innocence behind me, and I got a lot of network behind me. And I'm coming.
Just something deep down inside of me thought, there's something not right here. And that just sent me on my little path. I was like a dog with a bone. I wanted to find out everything about him and did a little bit of digging.
Hi, Tracy. I thought you might like to know. Mo has a criminal record, and I saw him getting arrested a year ago.
I couldn't believe what I was reading. And of course, you're taking a little step back. We just did not know what else we were going to discover.
It has to be Rami who did this.
The ice cream van rumours are true.
He's always been a wrong un.
Jill saw him being arrested on Walney last year.
All the issues started because me and my dad started ice creaming. When we broke up for the summer holidays, I started working out on the ice cream van. I would have been about 15 at the time. The first few months, they were sort of really nice, you know, I didn't really get much problems. But then one day, a lady came out in a bathrobe as I was trying to serve ice cream to someone. It was her niece. She came out mad fit of rage, like, you know, I'm caught in her ear. She goes, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, Well, I'm serving ice cream. I didn't realise that, you know, me being in an ice cream van needed explaining. I'm selling ice cream. And she's like, you can't sell it to my niece. I was like, all right, I'm sorry. And she goes, you're a paedophile. I was like, what? I was like, I'm 15, I can't be a paedophile. I don't think it works like that. Essentially, the rumours started to spread that we were, in fact, paedophiles.
Do you know what? We'd had loads of problems. I think because I'm a white woman, married to an Asian man. Everybody knew we'd had an affair. So they'd been watching this story evolve. Then we're together, then everybody's making judgments about that. Just when you think life, it can't get any worse, it's going to get worse. It was a Sunday, 7th of July, 2019. I remember it because we had... Not very often do I get a sleep in. We had a booking on the ice cream van. So Mo, he was up early, getting all the stock. And I was like, oh, bliss, sleeping, right? Wonderful.
I was in the shower and there was an officer. They've let him in and they said they've got a warrant to search the place.
They were all in the property, about 8 or 9 police officers. So next thing, they're outside my bedroom door. I was like, oh, what the hell is going on? And they were like, look, we can't tell you anything, but they'd come to raid the house.
We all had to sit in the living room, you know, just like no explanation to what's going on. We just had the house literally turned upside down.
They went into the ice cream van, they searched that. Within an inch of its life, they searched the boys' room, they looked at all the phones, a laptop, everything. In the fridges, in the oven. And I was like, what could this possibly be?
No ice cream today.
Obviously, Rami had gone. He hadn't come back. So they said to me, you know, that they'd arrested him. So I was like, what is he arrested for? We can't tell you. And so I was like, well, do you know what? We'd had loads of problems previously, you know, with all the ice cream wars, being stopped for drug dealing, you know, all this loads of rubbish, but stopped about 18 times. You know, like, there's nothing to it. So I thought, right, this is what it's going to be. Somebody said we've got drugs in the house. That's what it's going to be. They were there for about 4 or 5 hours. Still not heard anything from Rami until later that night. And then he rang me to say that he wouldn't be home and that he'd been arrested for human trafficking and modern-day slavery. And then I was just like, what? Like, what the hell do you say to that?
I was in the police station being questioned, and they asked me, do you understand what human trafficking, modern day slavery is? I was like, not really. And then he added sexual exploitation, child exploitation, trafficking of a minor, and I thought, what? To me, it was just like, hang on, what on earth is all this going on about? Rape, paedophilia, child exploitation. Your gut's churning. This is the worstest of accusation you can put on any man. What the hell are you lot saying to me? It's ludicrous. I'm pushing them, I'm saying, who's behind this? And then they're like, Ellie Williams has made these accusations. I didn't even know who Ellie Williams was at the time.
I was young.
stupid. So I was pilots and stuff, and I got introduced to Rami. He told me how special I was, how much she loved me. Made me think that I was his girlfriend for a long, long time.
I was released on bail, pending investigation. So I've come home and I said, boys, right, get on social media, this is the name.
He said, Ellie Williams. So, a quick Facebook search, found out who she is. Instantly, Nicola recognised her.
Now that's like the rug has been pulled from under you. You know, this is a girl we know. Ellie Williams' mum, Alison, we knew really, really well.
She goes, it's Alison's daughter. I went, Alison? Alison? She goes, yes. I went, fuck off. They were, my exact words were, fuck off.
It's like, I actually couldn't believe it. We're talking July 2019. Ellie's post didn't come out till May 2020. But little did we know, that was just the start of this nightmare movie script.
We all know who's behind this.
Why haven't the police arrested him yet?
He thinks he's got the police in his pocket.
The day after the post, all the curtains are bloody twitching, everybody's looking.
I say we sort this out ourselves.
The rumour mills, the gossip was everywhere.
We know where he lives.
You know, obviously you bang to rights before anything's even been said. But the worst thing was Rami and the boys. They were spat on, alcohol thrown over them, being called nonces, pedos. It was shocking, the behaviour of people in the town. But then I would be sat there looking at Ellie's post. The pictures, the bruising. You think, who is doing this to her?
Even at that point, I even said to Nicola, this might be happening, but it's not me. I've been handpicked, and I've been thrown into the cauldron now. Firstly, it's like, why? But then it's getting to the bottom of this. I want to find out everything. So, Detective Rami kicked it. I got obsessed with it. That became my life.
He started investigating. They even made a wall, which was, full of photos, Facebook posts, stuff from the local newspaper.
I wasn't sleeping, mental health-wise. My life went upside down. And then I found out about Jordan Tengrove.
We started to get a little bit forensic, because that's what we kind of do.
And I went back to the post, and that was when I stopped letting my emotions rule my head. I looked at that post with fresh eyes. It clearly states that she's been a victim of a Pakistani grooming gang.
And I read the original post again, and I did notice that people were referring to a Jordan or a JT on there, alluring that there might have been previous accusations against Ellie.
I put up Jordan's name into Google. And I remember, looking at his picture, thinking, oh, my God, what on earth is going on here?
When I discovered Ellie's post on Facebook, didn't even read the post. I knew exactly what it was. I knew by them pictures. I just knew she was up to it again. I had the whole world against me. All I'd see was cars with Justice for Ellie stickers, banners. It was Justice for Ellie everywhere. I just knew she was up to it again, that she's lying, but I knew they believed Ellie. Every day I woke up, it was getting worse and worse, and as that was getting worse, so was I. And I just took all my tablets, just took every single one of them. I just couldn't do it anymore.
I didn't want to share this because I'm scared of the judgment that will come with it. This has been years of me being trafficked to have sex with Asian men. They have beaten me on multiple occasions. They have broken my ribs, split my ear, cut my throat.
Ellie's post came out and the town come together because they wanted to protect her. I don't blame them for that, because they were told that this poor girl has been abused. She didn't name any of the men, it was just Asian men.
And then it was just a race war. It was just, well, this is why we shouldn't have immigrants, because they do this to our girls.
It became a witch hunt. That's when I put baseball bats in my kids' rooms. I put fire extinguishers.
Kept on going to the police station. Demands to know what's going on. What are they doing? What is the response? How am I implicated?
It was shocking, the behaviour of people. They ran people out of town, because who is going to put up with that?
Things have just snowballed and got out of control.
There was loads of rumours about who'd done what, where and why, etc. That Mo was behind it.
I remember coming across an article and it mentioned the name Jordan Trengrove.
How's he linked to this? He's a white teenager.
Well, I'm from Barrow. Me and my family have always lived here. When I turned 18, that's when I went for my first ever night out. Start drinking at home and then you'll go to a pub usually. And then you'll just make your way into town and just go to Manhattan's and all the other places really. You'd bump into a lot of your friends because obviously there's all the people you went to school with who are similar age to you and that. You've got your melons and then you've got your normal people. I'd like to say I'm a normal person. I used to love going out around Barrow, but since everything's happened, it's put me off for the rest of my life, really. Just mud sticks. It was a normal night out. Just started how it should, really. And Ellie just got in touch.
Oh, Gels, I've got no one to go out with. Can I come and join yous?
Me and my mate just sent, just tell her to come, just someone to chill with.
Watch out, Barrow.
Looking good, both of yous.
We went to a few nightclubs, Manhattan's, Broadway, Hollywood. We ordered our drinks. Turned around, Ellie wasn't there. She was nowhere to be seen. The night ended. I went to the taxi rank. It was an alright night. I've had better.
What's his full name? Trangrove. So his full name is Jordan Trangrove, yeah? He slapped me. Then he started fighting me. So I was trying to push him out the door. Couldn't. He had a knife, he was waving it around. He was threatening me with it. Pulled my hair, pulled me into the bathroom, and stripped me naked. He was beating me up with a shower. He was hitting me. Sex with me.
I was just asleep in bed at my mum's house. The police just come, like, busting into the bedroom, and I was like, what's going on? And they're like, you're being arrested for an assault on Ellie Williams. The questions were just digging and digging and digging. They were asking me, like, if I was with Ellie on the night that she was accusing me, which was the night of the night out. Have you raped Ellie? Have you beat Ellie up? Have you been in Ellie's house? If you've been at Ellie's house, will we pick you up on this CCTV, this CCTV? Will we connect you to phone masts? Everything they could ask, they were asking. I was bailed and I was allowed to go home. It was a relief to be out at the police station, but it was about 3-4 days, and then the police were back through my door again. They came and arrested me. I was confused why this was going on. They said Ellie accused me of rape for a second time.
And you were worried about anything? Just about him. In what way? And he's been like, I told you, do it again.
And on the third time, my solicitor came over and he said, you are going to prison. And that's when I just sat down and I just gave up. I just gave up on everything. I was going in there expecting a serious beating. There's a lot of people in there from Barrow, and I knew the word was going to spread very, very fast that I was in that prison and what I was in there for. I was petrified. I had to sign to go onto the protection wing, which is the sex offenders wing. I only went on the exercise yard 3 or 4 times. And that was just because I wanted a little bit of fresh air, because I felt like I was just choking on my own air, just staring at the same 4 walls. After 10 weeks, I got a phone call from my solicitor saying, you've been acquitted of all charges. Everything's been dropped.
We got together 3 months after he came out of prison. We just spent so long talking, just talking and talking. We told each other we loved each other near enough straight away. Jordan told me the night I met him that he loved me.
We both just, like, bounced off each other. It was like 2 ADHD kids in a sweet shop, really.
I felt like the luckiest person in the world. My kids were really happy. Jordan was really happy. I thought for Jordan just coming out of prison to be this happy is amazing.
When people have asked me why I have a black eye or bruises, I've made every excuse from falling over to banging it on a door.
We were on a walk down the canal and I said to Jordan, Ellie's wrote a post on Facebook.
They have beaten me on multiple occasions. These are real photos taken of me during this abuse.
I read it out to Jordan and he just said, "Here we go again."
I wasn't named in the actual post, but people were putting in the comments, this is why Jordan Trengrove was sent to prison on this girl. He should be still in prison now.
I saw Jordan's name and I just thought, this is it, now he's gonna be ruined again.
I'd had my life slowly building back up, started trusting people. It just went bang. Barrow had turned into like this crazy city protest life kind of thing. Just every day they were protesting. There was cars driving from Barrow to Wolverstone, marches, just everything.
I had people saying, how would you feel if we come and take your kids and traffic them? How would you feel if we raped your kids? Ringing social services at my kids' school, saying that I've got a rapist living in my house with my kids.
Everyone from everywhere was just coming, all different angles. The whole of Cumbria, the whole of the UK. I was seeing places in New York sharing it. I was just like, this is going too big for me.
There'd always been grooming gang rumours in Barrow. I said to Jordan, something must have happened to her. Like, whether it's to do with this grooming thing, I don't know, but she's just looking for someone to blame.
I needed somebody at that moment in time to be on our side because everyone was on Ellie's side. I just thought if I have someone who's powerful on my side, that might be able to help Jordan. It was me who got in touch with Tommy Robinson.
I was watching an interview on YouTube with Tommy. I thought if I was to get in touch, that maybe he'd be able to help us clear Jordan's name.
And 3, 2, 1.
If it wasn't for the English Defence League, we still probably wouldn't have heard of Muslim grooming gangs.
No one would talk about these gangs. Now they talk about them. No one would mention that they're Muslim. Now they do.
Every Muslim business in this town is being used to groom young children.
What's the case? What have you been called for today? You've been raping kids, have you? You've been called for raping young English girls, are you?
Tommy Robinson rang that night and he said, can I speak to Jordan? And I went on the phone with Tommy and he went, I'm coming up tomorrow.
We'd been investigating what were going on. There'd been a link posted up to a group called Justice for Ellie. They had absolutely loads and loads of members. I received a message from a member of the public to tell me that there were a protest planned in Barrow and that Tommy was coming to attend.
Tommy Robinson is coming to Barrow, apparently.
Tommy has no place in Barrow.
I started looking into Tommy again, you know, because that's what we do over on our group.
Tommy Robinson was once leader of the English Defence League, or EDL. These days, he calls himself a journalist, focusing on paedophile grooming gangs.
I speak openly and honestly and tell the facts about Islam. We have Islamic rape gangs terrorising this entire country.
He's rebranded himself as a journalist and he was going up and down the country looking into cases of grooming gangs. The next thing I saw, Tommy was on his way to Barrow. He was actually recording the whole trip and sharing what was happening with his followers on social media.
I'm currently pulled over. It's just non-stop. I'm just trying to do my job. So any other journalists you pulled over this morning?
The first one today, I'll pull them over.
Come on.
But I tell you, if I see any more today, I'll pull them over. Yeah.
We're waiting while they inform their bosses that I'm in the area. Mental, isn't it? Totally mental.
When Tommy turned up, it was turned into a circus. You could feel the tension in the town rising. People standing out of their sunroofs with the flags, tooting their horns. People going up and shaking his hand.
People are just lapping it up, they're going wild, and I just knew there's going to be repercussions of Tommy coming into town. Somebody is going to get hurt.
You know, you're a racist piece of shit.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Well done. What do you think of the rapes that are happening in this town?
The rapes?
Yeah.
I think they're awful.
Do you?
We can't blame the singular race.
Who blamed a singular race, dickhead?
You.
Is that it? Have you come to do anything? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You fucking little bitch. Get your fucking arse up before I fucking do you. Yeah? You've made... Yeah, well done.
Then this footage popped up of Tommy punching a lad.
You just learned a lesson in life. Don't fuck your mouth off when you can't handle it.
Everything going on just felt out of control.
Take your sorry fucking arse and fuck off. You fucking bitch.
Tommy Robinson rang in, he went, "I'm coming to your house." I wanted him to say it straight. There was a folder about this big full of paper, and I just put it in front of him and I said, "Read it all." He read it all and he went, "You've done nothing. There's something going on." I started getting a bit of relief that something was going to come out.
It almost felt like Tommy was taking on the role of the police. I was in agreement with the general consensus at that time. What are the police doing? Are they proactively going out there? Are they investigating things?
There was demonstrations outside the police station and anger in the community about the perceived failings of the police in respect of this investigation.
What's it going to take for you lot to act? A dead child? Is it going to take someone dead?
Police officers were threatened. A lot of extra police resources were having to put into place in the community.
You took an oath to uphold the law. Uphold it.
The insinuation was that the police hadn't been doing anything about it. We had, in fact, been investigating the case for nearly a year. I joined the Ellie Williams case on the 8th of July of 2019, nearly a year before the Facebook post. I was appointed as the senior investigating officer because of my background of dealing with child sexual abuse. I dealt with a very large-scale 5-year operation looking at abuse in residential schools in South Cumbria. Really awful cases where people's whole lives, had been blighted by being abused when they were younger. When I started on the case, what I was faced with was a young girl who'd been groomed and abused throughout the United Kingdom since the age of 12.
Right, so the cameras are recording us, Ellie.
She'd given a narrative account of a number of Asian men who had been grooming and trafficking her, assaulting her.
So what we come to talk about there, I was young, stupid, so I was pilots and stuff, and I got introduced to family. It told me how special I was, how much she loved me. Made me think that I was his girlfriend for a long time.
There was a lot of allegations about Mr. Ramzan and a lot of detail about what had happened. She was presenting with injuries, quite often facial injuries, black eyes, caused by traffickers.
Rami begged me to go have sex with one of his friends, said that I'd be doing the last 5 days of the day. So I did. And then he said it wasn't happening again. It was just a one-off, but then ultimately a one-off. It started getting more and more often.
And then it turns out Romy was getting money. But I was having sex with other men. And then we started taking me parties. It started being like, instead of just one or two men, it'd be blokes. So the houses in Barrow all the time. And then I'd go for in Rochdale and Oldham. And it was just like everyone.
After Ellie Williams made allegations on Facebook, I become labelled as a kingpin. Rumours are now going around. I organise all this. Sexual exploitation, grooming, and trafficking. This absolutely not me for six. I'm saying there's more to this. Who's behind this? I want to find out everything. I got obsessed with it. That became my life. My life went upside down.
We've seen my dad break down, being accused of something so vile and disgusting, and everyone turned against him. But he started then doing his own research on it, just trying to understand the rumour of what was actually going on. I mean, there were nights where I've spent all-nighters in this office because I didn't want to go home and face what was happening there.
Ramy's like, what the hell am I going to do now? We were threatened with fire bombs through the letterboxes, so the fire brigade came and told us, you know, double lock everything, protect yourself as much as you can, or basically leave. You think, well, no, I'm not going to leave. My mum lives up the street. I'm not leaving. I've lived here all my life, and he's not done anything.
It's not just about Ellie Williams, it's everything else. You're getting so-called paedophile hunters lifting their heads. The threat to me now is real.
Ramy said Tommy Robinson will end up at our door. And lo and behold, he was hiding behind the ice cream van, jumped out at me. And I was rude to him because I thought, you are this racist guy who's this, that and the other. But I actually said to him, look, if you want to speak to Ramy, then let me take your number and he'll ring you.
My mindset was Tommy Robinson is Islamophobic, he is a racist, but he is a powerful person. People do listen to Tommy Robinson. I didn't want to, but I need to speak to him because people don't believe the mainstream media, don't believe the police. But if Tommy Robinson went out and said it, everybody believes him. Me and he could end up in a brawl, or he might bring a group of lads. I don't know what he's capable of. So first thing I did was I shaved my hair. I wanted to actually look like a thug.
Right. What are we going to do? What do we say to him? How do we treat him? So it's sort of like preparing ourselves for, you know, a monumental shitstorm.
The whole town's kicking off. Yeah. All my followers, essentially I'd say I work for, they all want to know what's going on with Barrow.
I was skeptical of him. I was worried about how he would edit, how he would manipulate. So hence why I recorded everything. My boys filmed him every minute of that conversation.
Everyone can see something don't add up. You've got a young girl who's got multiple injuries.
Which is horrific. It does start off with the Muslims, this, that. I went, look, Tommy, I'm not asked about the Muslims. You're here for me. It's about me. If I've done anything, let's look at this.
You may think I've got an ulterior motive, yeah?
Listen, Tommy, you're not even a journalist, yeah? Right? You've got no credentials.
I am a journalist. So they're using news because you live it?
Yeah, probably, yeah. We're getting that all the time. Which isn't fair. Would you think that's fair?
He thought he's coming to deal with some major gangster that's doing all this, some major drug lord, major warlord. He's Muslim, he's Pakistani, yeah, it fits all his criteria, fits all the agenda, but hang on, he's just a regular bloke.
You may not believe it, yeah? I'm completely opposed to racism. All I want to do is find out what's happening. Am I a paedophile? No, I'm not. Do I run the sex ring? No, I don't. That's the question, that's been answered.
So, I'm in Barrow, trying to understand what's actually happening in this town. But before this, a gentleman come over and thought it was appropriate that he could spit in my face. He ended up on his arse, of course. But because of that, I'm guessing this lot are here for us.
We meet again.
We meet again, don't we?
Well, you know why we're speaking to you today, don't you?
What's happened in the car park? Yes?
Because we're discussing potential offences. Stop filming for that.
Am I under arrest?
Just stop filming.
Tommy was frustrated. He came here to do a job and he was stopped. He admitted he was wrong. He admitted he got false information. But then he's been arrested, so he couldn't clear my name.
Now, bail conditions, I'm not allowed to talk about anything to do with child exploitation within Cumbria. Go figure.
He wanted to investigate this and people would believe him, and he was silenced. So I was then constantly on the police. What have you done today? Every day I would ring them and ask, what's happened today? All I knew was, I'm in a battle here now. I've got to defend myself.
Any large-scale investigation can be difficult and can often take a long time. When the Facebook post came out, we had been investigating the case for nearly a year without anything being said in the local community. Initially, we were extremely concerned for Miss Williams to the point that we were offering witness protection. She agreed that she would move to a safe house to get her out of Barrow. But while she was at this safe house, she went missing. She was found in the early hours of the morning in Kendal and started to give an account of what had happened in Blackpool.
You may get messages on the weekend to say you're getting on the journey to Blackpool, which is more valuable to us there. Whichever man was willing to pay the most money you go with. They'll tell us the country was how it looked because they're like trash.
Miss Williams said that she was met by a number of men, including Mr. Ramzan. She said that she'd been abused a number of times at a number of what she termed as sex parties.
Every time he messed up, he'd get a beating, they'd suffocate him. And send out their bitches under their control to do what they'd say, to do what we're told to do on lives like those.
So we started off on a big harvest of closed-circuit television to try and plot the movements of Miss Williams. And that's when we started thinking there's something not right here at all. We were able to tell from CCTV that having got off the train and walked around the promenade, she'd gone to the Savoy Hotel. I ended up with two parallel versions of events. One, the version of Miss Williams, and one, the actual version of what did happen. She described in great detail going into places about Asian men putting money on the table to be able to rape her, and then going into bedrooms with them. But in fact, she'd left the room at the Savoy Hotel twice during the evening. One to buy some sweets at a local shop where she can be seen on CCTV. and once to buy a pot noodle at another shop. She never spoke to any Asian men at all. Phone evidence revealed that she'd been sitting listening to podcasts and things in a room, ignoring numerous frantic messages from family and police officers who were concerned about her. As the evidence was coming in to say that she wasn't telling the truth, I had to check out, was she telling lies about that, but the truth about something else? It's really important as an investigator to keep confirming things. Don't just rely on the first thing you hear, keep investigating.
Yeah, like all the girls that are on there, yeah, I've been into addresses with them because that's how I know that they're involved. Right, okay.
Miss Williams gave a list of 60 girls that she said were fellow victims. The focus at that time was to try and visit as many of the girls who'd been put forward as potential victims as we could.
When the police first came to my house, this is where it got really confusing. They were just asking me a lot of strange questions like, am I safe? Am I okay? Is there anything I need to tell them? I was like, no, I don't know. I don't have a clue why you're here. The next time the police came, they mentioned Ellie. They asked me if I knew her, and I was like, yeah, I went to school with her. And they were like, oh, have you ever been out drinking with her? And I was like, oh yeah, I've been out drinking with her once, maybe twice. They were like, oh right, did you ever feel unsafe? I was like, no, why would I? I'm like trying to explain, no, nothing's happened. Like, I promise, I'm fine. And he was like, oh, have you ever been to parties and been forced into doing stuff? I was like, no. For a long time, I believed everything. When I got told I was supposedly somehow involved, that's when the doubt started. Because I'm like, well, this hasn't happened to me. This isn't true. So what else has been lied about?
None of these girls were known to have been involved in grooming, trafficking, and a number of them gave witness statements totally refuting this information. The more I began to investigate that, the more concerned I became.
After Ellie's post had gone viral, what you could see is people were just desperate to help. So people are having conversations about how to fundraise, you know, ideas, key rings, car stickers, banners. They were all throwing out ideas of people who to contact that might be able to propel Ellie's story and to take it to, like, the next level.
I'm Shane Yarrow, 40, just turned. Last May, I became Mayor of Waltham Abbey, which is it's mad, isn't it, really? I'm an established fundraiser and I've done it for years. I saw the post, one of my friends had shared it, and I found myself just like sitting down to read it.
I thought the only way I could escape this life was to marry one of them, get pregnant, or kill myself.
It's like, oh my God, I need to help this girl, like now. I set up the crowdfunding page and it just took off. You know, like, oh, it's on £5,000, oh, it's on 7, you know, and it just kept going up. There was even donations from America. There was one from Australia. It just went everywhere. So it hit 22,000. It felt good because I thought she's going to get the help that she needs and that she deserves, and we're going to get her out of the area.
I do have to keep my job confidential, but it does involve investigations. This is where my skill set comes into play. And I had concerns. Her family's reason for the fundraiser kept changing. At one stage, it was to bring justice for Ellie. quite a vague term, and it was to bring these men to justice. And it was a case of, well, why do you need money to prosecute these men? Because the CPS would do that. It doesn't cost the victims any money to prosecute someone. You're a victim of a crime. Now, it's not Shane's fault that the goalposts were being changed. However, this then started making a lot of people question, what's this money going to get used for?
People started saying things to me. I was getting some quite heavy messages on Facebook. They were saying, you know, like, the situation is not as it appears to be. Barrow just felt like an area that was so divided. That made me a little bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, if you're going to raise money for somebody, you're going to do it properly. What I always do is the picture with a presentation check. They get the train up, my baseball cap, and I'm just going to put my head down, meet the family, and that's it. I'll get back, and I did. As I was in the house, Ellie phoned, and Ellie said, thanks so much. And I said, you're welcome.
Before the Facebook post came out, none of the local community knew that Miss Williams was under investigation. It was a fast-moving investigation, and I was really anxious not to jump to conclusions, but it did get to the point where I thought the whole thing just wasn't stacking up for me, and I was really concerned. And then she went missing again. Information came in to say that there'd been a couple of sightings of a young woman in distress in fields in North Walney.
What's happened, Jack? What's gone on? What's happened there?
Nothing. I just need to go home.
Come and have a sit in here. We'll have a chat.
Say nothing to no one about anything.
Just an update for level of injury. Her right eye is completely swollen over.
In around 20 yards from where she'd been found, behind a fence post, they found a blood-stained hammer.
You've told continuous lies. I've got to ask those questions, but I've got to wonder why and where they've come from.
You know, but I don't get these bruises for no reason, you know. You can see by the state of my face.
I can see you've got bruises. My concern is now, how did you get those bruises?
Well, how? You tell me.
Self-inflicted?
Are you having a laugh?
No, I'm not.
In the most shocking aspect of this case, we found CCTV that showed how a number of days prior to this incident, Miss Williams had been in purchasing that hammer. And that was a really sad, you know, feature of the case, to think that she'd actually been, you know, hammering herself in the face and cutting her finger. We can only be left with the fact that she appears to have been self-harming to quite a high degree over a long period of time. But it was quite clear that the only way that I was going to be able to stop her from committing these offences was to get her remanded in custody. She was going to have to be arrested because it wouldn't be fair to carry out interviews as a victim to try and trip her up when she's obviously a suspect.
Are you arresting her?
Yeah. But we'll go on a crowd. Hi, Ellie.
Yeah.
Are you alright?
Yeah, alright.
I guess you can probably guess what's going to happen. If you just listen to my colleague, she's going to have to read some alphabet paper.
All right.
All right, look. So you're under arrest in relation to charges of perverting the course of justice. So you don't have to say anything, but anything you do say may be given in evidence.
Okay, this is an audio recorded interview being conducted at Barrow Police Station. Okay, these are pictures that are taken from the CCTV at the Savoy Hotel. How'd you come to that?
Can't explain.
What we've ended up with is information that contradicts your version of events. Do you understand how serious this is?
I do. I feel bad for lying. I am really, really sorry for it. But I haven't felt safe enough. They basically know that I've been speaking to the police and they've told me to tell you certain things that would put you off the scent of tracing them.
The difficulty is, Ellie, that you've told us lies.
I know.
Did you tell us lies?
It's hard to believe the truth because lies have been said. I get it. I do get it.
When she was arrested, the public did become suspicious and think, well, you know, the police haven't dealt with it right.
And yet you still to this day cover it up. Shame on you!
We were very keen to try and reassure the community and urge people to respect the process that was going on, but it didn't appease many.
Hello, my name's Dean Holden. I'm doing this release in response to some recent Facebook posts. What I can say is that Cumbria Constabulary have been undertaking an operational investigation for nearly 12 months now. An individual has been charged with some offences. When the question is asked, is there an organised gang of Asian men in Barrow conducting abuse or otherwise exploitation against individuals, our investigation has shown that that has not been corroborated or otherwise evidence.
The police issued a statement saying, we've investigated, there is no grooming gang in Barrow, but that was it. It was one single statement. So, of course, then people jumped on it. The Barrow police haven't investigated, they refused to investigate. So it didn't help calm the fire. It just added more fuel to the fire, I think.
They just sat back and watched the town tear itself apart.
I actually spoke to the police about it. I said to them, look, you know, I'm worried about my business. I'm worried about some people that work here. But all they kept saying is they cannot say anything more just yet. They know the truth, but they have to wait due to the court case. It just left me frustrated because my business is crumbling. You're not doing anything to help.
The police said very little, so people went into overdrive speculating. People drew the line in the sand and the camps were formed. You were either pro Ellie or you were an anti-Ellie, and that war raged online. People were digging up dirt on the men that Ellie had accused.
Even though everything had been dropped, they all still believe it. It didn't get easier, it got harder. People just put label on, like me and other people in my family. People were just labelling us as dirty chain growths. And it was just horrible.
The police said there's no grooming gangs. There's been a 2-year-long investigation. They've been looking into it. There's nothing. They just made things worse by aggravating people. My own friends started changing their minds, saying, we've got proof, we're going to prove it.
I've just found out he's got a serious previous conviction.
I'll never ever forget coming across that comment that Mo had already been in prison for throwing petrol over his ex-partner. And I remember just reading that and thinking, oh, God.
ABH on his ex-partner. Went down for 2 years.
You're now thinking to yourself, he's got violent tendencies, and he's done 2 years inside. It's like, right, okay. It took me a while to kind of process that.
If everything that is being said about him is true, then people need to be extremely careful in what they're saying.
Impression. Might not believe me. I believe you. I do.
She's trying to say something happened to me. Nobody's listening to me. She's trying to be seen and to be heard.
The defence were trying to just find anything to discredit me.
I remember looking up and the jury were just staring at me. I just knew there and then they'd believe Ellie.
Ellie Williams, please stand up.
I was like, I can't believe this is happening. She's gonna get off.
You all right? Eh? Ellie, what's gone on? You okay? Have you taken something? Sit down. Sit down for me. Sit down.
In the video, she does seem like quite a vulnerable individual in psychological distress.
I'll help you.
But I think this is the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger issue. You can normally understand crime. I think you can normally understand it. You can understand why people do things, but this doesn't make sense. What really happened to her? What's the ultimate end game? Because it can't just be a young girl decided to make up all of these stories about being groomed, being sexually abused.
Ellie, what's happened?
And to inflict this level of trauma on herself. You know, why? There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, she'll get you an ambulance.
The seaside town of Barrow is holding its breath for the trial of 21-year-old Ellie Williams on charges of perverting the course of justice.
The week leading up to the trial, Jordan was really, really anxious every day. But then Jordan's mental health was already really difficult at that time. He was happy one day, and the next day it was like, I don't know, it was just like, he just crumbled. We had waited for a trial for years. I was quite positive. I tried to be as positive as I could and try and get Jordan on a positive level. I absolutely love him bits, and he said he wanted to marry me and have a baby with me, and by this time I didn't want any more kids, because I'd already had my 2. But I changed my mind during that time, waiting for it to start. We had our little boy, Louis.
He was born in August 2021, and that was obviously like a really happy time. But at the same time, it was just one of my darkest.
He couldn't form a normal father-son bond because he doesn't want people thinking that he's around children when he shouldn't be.
It was really hard, but it doesn't change the love I have for him. Like, he's my absolute G. He's my absolute little guy. I just love him to pieces. because of everything what was going on. It's hard to become the dad that I wanted. I had rapists spray painted on my house and my windows smashed. And that was it, just... my life just went downhill again. Every day I wake up, I see threats, like Facebook posts and Facebook live streams, Facebook groups. Jordan Trengrove's a rapist. He should be still in prison now. Just like, what the hell is actually going on? Like, it was so confusing. Like, I think I even tried to message the fundraiser for Ellie.
After I set up this crowdfunding page, which raised a substantial amount for Ellie, building up to the trial, Jordan started messaging me, saying, you know, she put them through hell and she made it up. I was getting a lot of messages. There was the mixed opinion, and that made me a little bit uncomfortable. But at the same time, I had to be cautious of who to trust. And the family were nothing but nice to me at that point. And I knew that a lot of things had still been investigated. I knew there was like an up-and-coming trial, and I knew that, you know, the police were still looking into something. I didn't realise it was so much Ellie. I thought the whole case was still being looked into. So I just left it. Didn't focus on Jordan, didn't know enough, probably didn't take enough interest, because I always go back to the evidence that she provided on Facebook. Text messages, battered body, it was a lot. I believed her.
This has been years of me being trafficked to have sex with Asian men. They have broken my ribs, split my ear, cut my throat, stabbed me, burnt me, beaten me black and blue. People need to know about this local and very real issue.
Ellie's post was shared like 100,000 times as well, so it was just all round. You don't ever... It would be wrong for me to think she's made that up. Somebody has done this to her, and I believe that Ellie will be found innocent.
Eleanor Williams posted pictures on Facebook when she was 19 in 2020. She and her victims have been waiting since then for justice.
So the trial finally began in October 2022, so well over 2 years after Ellie's Facebook post captured the attention of people all around the world. Ellie had been charged with perverting the course of justice, and she was going to be on trial, accused of lying about being raped by various men, including Mohammed Ramzan and Jordan Trengrove.
Williams, who is 22, put pictures on Facebook and claimed she had been groomed, trafficked and beaten.
Having covered a lot of these grooming scandals before, the other police forces had turned a blind eye to the abuse, and in many cases they had also criminalised the victims. So I very much went into it with an open mind. And finally the case was opened, and those that have been called as a prosecution witness were asked to attend.
I remember being stood outside the courtroom, waiting to go and give my evidence, and just felt like I was going to pass out. And I was going to have to face the person that ruined my whole entire life.
As I went in, Ellie was just talking to her mum constantly, laughing with each other, smiling. Are you all right? Are you okay, darling? Just constant. If you can imagine how hard that would have been for Jordan, having to walk into them two laughing. It's just unbelievable.
I told the court my side of it.
And then Ellie's barrister started firing questions at him. She was going in on him, trying to trip him up on everything that she possibly could.
I was shaking, sweating. Ellie's barrister, she looked at me and she went,
"Did you rape Ellie Williams?"
I couldn't speak. Eventually, I said no. The only way I was able to answer it was by pushing my leg into the edge of the dock light, so it was like putting a shooting pain up my leg. It was like I was fighting a losing battle, because whatever I answered, she had an answer for. I remember looking up once, and the jury were just staring at me. I just knew there and then they'd believe Ellie.
Today, the court heard evidence from Jordan Trengove, accused by Ellie of rape in 2019.
Obviously, I was following the trial. At that point, I stayed on the Ellie side because I didn't believe what these people were saying online. I don't think that's fair for people to just assume there's white grooming gangs, black grooming gangs, Asian grooming gangs. You know, a grooming gang's a grooming gang, isn't it? And obviously Mo's involved in it as well.
I've heard Mo Rami's giving evidence in court tomorrow. I expect he'll be telling more lies as usual.
The system is rigged. If we want the groomers out of Barrow, we're gonna have to get them out ourselves.
I'm not going to sleep till Mo Rami has been run out of this town.
Getting to the trial was a relief. I had been on trial by social media. I've had to have eyes on the back of my head for years. I can't actually tell you how it feels when you're walking down the street and everyone you're thinking is looking at you, thinking that you're a paedophile, a groomer, a rapist. There's like hundreds of messages here. You dirty, stupid fucking nonce. I'd bounce your head clean off the floor. Wait till we find you and your noncy packy mates. Take your smelly wife and fuck off home, dirty pedo. And they just go on and on. And it wasn't just from these online sites.
Unfortunately, there are quite a few people that were hell-bent on making life a living hell. You know, smashing your car windows in, smashing your van windows in, driving past your house screaming, "Pack it."
What do you expect? Get out, Rami! Mark it, no more! Fuck off now, you guys just get inside.
Of course we can, not a problem.
I felt scared, I think. You know, who knows what's going to happen? Or some crazy person on the street, you know, attacks me or sets fire to the house.
They wanted us to leave, but I thought, no, none of you know the truth.
I spoke to Mo actually the day before. He's been in court. He sent me a message and said, like, I've seen a lot of the good things you've done and you've got this one wrong. Like, you're going to ruin your reputation and this girl's a liar. And what are you going to do when it comes out? Are you going to apologise? I look forward to your reply. Please contemplate on what you're actually raising money for. Warm regards, Mohammed. I was a little bit nervous when he messaged me because I thought, oh God, obviously I'd heard all these things about him. People were saying online about Mo's ex, and he's a violent man, and he's dangerous, and there's not someone that you want to cross. And then Ellie's family started telling me a little bit more. Maybe I was making a judgment, but I was thinking Mo was definitely one of the guys that had raped her, I guess.
When I arrived at Preston Crown Court, I felt good because this has lingered for years now. I'm here to verify her lies. Initially, it was brilliant, and I told the court, I'm an innocent man. But then as the trial went on, oh my God, the defense barrister, she was trying to just find anything to discredit me.
Why, in the police interview, did you answer no comment when asked if there's anything other than your ice cream business supplementing your income?
Because that has got nothing to do with grooming, trafficking, selling Ellie Williams.
Have you ever sold drugs?
Taking drugs and selling drugs are two different things.
Can you explain your previous conviction for pouring petrol over your former partner and threatening to burn her?
I'm no angel. I'm not proud of that moment of my life, and yes, I did that. And I regret what I did. Straight away held my hands up. I went to prison, I served my time. It's done, and I'm sorry for what I did.
To be honest, that really shocked me. You know, there's no such thing as like a perfect victim, right? To do that, you have to be a really nasty piece of work. I just didn't know what to make of it.
Can't stand the thought of women being beaten, treated badly, any sort of violence. All I can say is that if he continued to behave like that, I wouldn't be sat here. If he treated me like that, if I ever saw an inkling of that, I wouldn't be sat here. I mean, I believe people can change, but, you know, it was like the defence annihilated him. They thought, if we can make you a bad character, then it might put a little bit of doubt in the jury's mind. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. She's gonna get off.
The court heard today from men who were arrested on the strength of Ellie Williams' allegations. She had accused them of rape. In some cases, she had accused those men of being part of an Asian grooming gang who she said had been sexually abusing her and others across the north of England for years. These were men who either said they didn't know Ellie Williams or had...
I'm a psychologist and psychotherapist. I've worked with sexual assault victims, rape victims who are trying to put their lives back together. I've also worked with some of the perpetrators of these crimes as well.
Ellie Williams has been on trial here for a month now. She's accused...
When I first came across the story, my first instinct when I looked at it, I just thought, it just doesn't seem right. There's just something about that whole case that does not make any sense. It does seem, you know, like she's a fantasist. It does seem like I can see where that word has come from to explain it. But with all fantasy, I think there are some facts.
Now, Ellie Williams denies perverting the course of justice, and the case continues here.
So I was looking forward to hearing her account of what had happened.
When Ellie was going to give evidence in court, a lot of Justice for Ellie supporters had turned up. Clearly, a lot of people believed that she was the true victim here. They'd chartered minibuses to come down from Barrow.
Come on, has anyone looked into it? You know what? It's all working with each other.
They were shouting at the journalists and the police and suggesting that, you know, we were part of this conspiracy against Ellie. And actually, sometimes you sort of had to remind yourself that she's the one on trial. She's the one being accused of a crime, and she's the one being accused of lying.
Can you tell me your full name? My name's Ellie Williams.
Like, there was one incident that we heard about in the trial where Ellie phoned 999 from the flat where she was living and kind of made a silent call.
Please, what's your emergency? Your account was flat. What's your name? Ellie. What's been happening that you want him out? He just slapped me. Do you need an ambulance? Ellie, has he come back in? Just answer yes or no. Ellie, if you're not able to speak, can you just press number 5 twice? Okay, Ellie, we're coming to you as an emergency, okay? Just try and stay as safe as you can.
It was a very confusing part of the case. Like, I find it hard to believe that that was just her concocting evidence to support her lies.
You all right?
And when police came round to the flat, she was found in a terrible state, covered in bruises.
What's going on?
It was really hard to watch.
You okay? Have you taken something? Sit down. Sit down for me. Sit down. Ellie? What's happened? What have you had?
In court today, jurors were shown body-worn camera footage. Ellie claimed at the time that she'd been taken home by traffickers who had then raped and beaten her. However, CCTV footage showed her walking home alone.
I know. I'll help you.
When I saw that footage of her, I instantly just thought the behaviours that she's exhibiting would suggest that she certainly doesn't feel safe as an adult. But why did she feel the need to do that? What happened there? What's happened to this girl that made her feel that she had to go to such extreme lengths to be seen and to be heard?
The jury then heard that Ellie hit herself with a hammer that she'd been seen purchasing herself on CCTV, with an expert witness confirming her injuries to be consistent with self-inflicted hammer blows.
Self-harm is normally where someone struggles to cope with their own emotions and then they internalise it, so then they take it out on themselves, so they're hurting themselves as a way, as a form of punishment to cope with their emotions. But in this case, rather than it being used as a way to regulate her emotions, it's being used to gain attention. So it's unusual.
Today at the Eleanor Williams trial, police showed how she'd created multiple social media accounts to send herself threatening messages in the names of Mo Rami, Jordan Trengove, and many other men.
So as you can imagine, I was seeing all this, I was hearing all this. It was like me apparently admitting to raping her and if she told anyone I was going to rape her again and make sure I killed her. I just felt disgusting.
The jury heard how the messages were sent from Ellie's home address, proving that they did not come from the men she had accused.
To me, that's how sick it was. And it was just like, oh my God, that really just made me go. I was angry.
That was an eye-opener, listening to the lengths she'd gone to, because we didn't know half of it. What she'd written is disgusting. I was just like, why is she doing this?
6 different phones were found at Ellie's address, with dozens of social media accounts which had been set up in the names of the men she accused.
Reading the messages was really interesting and really shocking. The language that she uses, there's a lot that talks about sex. Obviously, it's all about grooming as well. It's quite possible that there's been a sexual trauma in her history that hasn't been resolved for her. You can see the themes actually running through the messages. But ultimately, at the end of the trial, I had more questions than answers.
Don't think I slept. This is D-Day. You're going to verdict day and you're thinking, that jury, what's she gonna say? There were 13 jurors in this trial. They were all white. There wasn't an Asian, there wasn't a brown, there wasn't a Jamaican, there wasn't a Muslim. Am I gonna get a fair hearing here? Is there somebody that's gonna sit in that jury and say, no, because of colour of my skin, because I'm a Mohammed, right? Is this what it's gonna be?
I was just scared. What if it's like all a waste of time? What if this is a waste of time and she gets out?
When we got into the courtroom, I was watching the jury to see what their facial expressions were, because I knew if it didn't go in Jordan's favour, people are still going to think he's a rapist.
On the first charge of perverting the course of justice, how do you find the defendant?
Guilty.
Ecstatic. Every emotion, I think. Ecstatic, upset. We shouldn't be cheering it. We shouldn't have even been there. It shouldn't have even come into our life. But making the most of it, you know, we've got the result we wanted. You can breathe a sigh of relief.
Jordan slapped me on the knee and went, yes.
It was like a big sense of joy. I'll just remember that 5 minutes where I was just looking at the jury, just smiling.
And I just remember holding his hand and just squeezing it, and was just relieving. It was a completely different kind of feeling to the feelings that we'd just had for the past God knows how long.
I feel no sense of triumph, only sadness. For the loss of the years, the impact on my family, here we are, and the true impact that this will have on true victims. That's the loss here.
There he is. Andy, got that?
Oh, yeah, you've got
Jackie Long, are you all right to come over after this?
Yeah, yeah, no worries. After the verdict, I was talking to all the journalists, because to me it was for the world to see, with a public eye, she's guilty.
You told about the personal effect it had on you and the attempt on your life. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
A woman from Barrow-in-Furness has been found guilty of perverting the course of justice after falsely claiming on Facebook that she'd been groomed. I was actually on my honeymoon. It was in Prague. And it was the last day. It was the last day. And somebody sent me a couple of messages. You do realise you've helped a liar. You've raised money for a liar. I was just like, no, she's not done that. She's not made that up. No one would do that. Sorry, it was just taking me back to the last day of the honeymoon. I was so distracted, and it sort of killed the last part of it. I'm sort of like just like re-going over it, and it just like we know somebody that well, I know somebody personally that genuinely gone through that and been raped, and it just kind of brought that back as well. And she, like, there's all these girls that have genuinely been through this ordeal. I just kind of wish I'd helped one of them, rather than it being somebody that made it up. But all you can do is just like put it right now, innit? Get the money back.
For Ellie Williams' mother, it's a devastating verdict.
The court has decided she is a liar about really serious things.
Yeah, that's correct. And in the eyes of the law, I've got to follow that verdict and accept that. She's a happy little thing. And so I miss that. I miss that energy in the house and her being here. But she'll be back again at some point. So we just got to look forward to that time.
So I messaged Ellie's mum. I said to Alison, I hope you're okay, after the guilty verdict, because I thought it's not her fault, you know. Ellie's her own person, isn't she? She said, not in a good place, we'll talk in a couple of days, so we did. And then I said, I need to get some money back, either refunded or given to a cause of choice for the real victims. It was awkward. She was like, you're trying to force me to do something I don't want to do. And I was like, I'm not forcing you to do anything. We agreed that if it comes out that Ellie's guilty, you pass the money back to me and we'll donate it to 2 charities to support victims of abuse. She was ignoring my messages after that. I couldn't see a way out. I thought I was never going to get any money back, so I rang my bank, reported it. And the next morning, I woke up and there was £7,158 in my bank. So I was like frantically ringing the bank. I said, that's amazing, but how comes it's only 7,158 when it was supposed to be 21,204? And she said that was all that was remaining of the money that you passed in to her account. Alison is saying that she's donated the rest to the Salvation Army, which baffles me. We should actually have done something and support the real victims. I find it hard to live with sometimes. Ellie's someone that has literally destroyed people's lives. But the fact is, something's not right. You can't be capable of making all that up and injuring yourself like that unless something has happened. She's obviously been through something to be damaged like that.
I mean, that word, Paki, it was constant.
These are mostly Pakistani men, and some are business owners.
I mean, that sentence, Pakistani and business owners, Barrow has maybe 2 of them. And anyone who was remotely Pakistani, I mean, Bangladeshis were targeted, Indians were targeted, anyone whose skin was a different colour was targeted. I mean, walking around in Barrow, going Tesco, grabbing some shopping, everywhere, it was like everyone was looking at you and you just couldn't say anything or do anything because what can you say, what can you do? You're against the whole town.
Had you ever experienced racism before?
No. I didn't even think it existed. I thought that was like an urban myth, something that happened years ago, something like the bloody war. So that was history, and I was naive enough to actually believe that.
Over the weekend, 2 Indian restaurants were subject to what police believe were racially aggravated offences.
After she was found guilty, I thought, hopefully it'll be over soon, because for a number of years I had all these random strangers giving me abuse every single day. So obviously I just felt kind of helpless. I couldn't do anything to stop it happening.
I lost so many things. I've got business, happy life, happy family. And then I lost my business because people are hating me, looking at me like different eyes. I said, oh, what's going on in this town? We are all scared. And maybe I don't want to stay anymore. So that's why I left Barrow.
I was born and raised in Barrow. And then to see this destroy it, basically, ripping my hometown to shreds, that really boiled me piss, if you like. So I started looking into it, and I was just scrolling through Facebook. The worst abuse was being targeted at this guy, Mo Rami. Nearly 700 comments of death threats. Just sickening. I just sat there in disbelief. I was just scrolling, become numb to it. And that's where I thought, oh my God, what the hell is this guy and his family going through, man? And I jumped in his corner because, like I say, it's the right thing to do. They're not willing to accept the fucking truth. Not justifying any violence against women or anybody for that matter. But it's wild, some of the stuff that was said about him. Telling lies, you know. They want to destroy that man. Let's be clear here, scratching the surface, they were exploiting the Ellie Williams case, you know, to fuel their hate. Nothing to do with Ellie Williams. You know, so there's lots of different factors even after the case that's occurring here. You know, I'm not defending her, by the way, but we still don't know why Ellie Williams did this in the first place.
A 22-year-old woman is to be sentenced for perverting the course of justice. Stay with us as we'll shortly be joining a live feed of the sentencing.
Did you follow the trial?
The only time I saw it was when the sentencing came out.
Ellie Williams, please stand up.
And obviously listen to the judge's deliberations, and we just want her to go over, look her in her eyes and say, what the hell have you done? Why have you done it? Why?
I've received much psychiatric evidence in this case, all of which I've read. I heard evidence yesterday from Dr. Bacon called on behalf of the defendant. Dr. Bacon maintains that the defendant has a complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Dr. Locke, who has provided a report for the Crown, does not accept that this is a conclusion which can be drawn.
A part of me wants to believe, you know, maybe she has mental health issues, but the fact of the matter is that the judge in this case said that there was no evidence to it.
I agree with the conclusion of Dr. Locke that there is no evidence upon which I could conclude.
But then if it's not mental health issues, I mean, honestly, it's just you destroyed people's life for what?
Because this offence strikes at the heart of the administration of justice, it is to be regarded as serious.
It was a very tense atmosphere in court.
You will serve.
Nobody really knew how many years she was going to get in prison.
A total sentence of 8.5 years imprisonment.
She looked lonely and young and pale and resigned to her fate. She wasn't sobbing. She even said a quiet thank you afterwards. I think maybe she thought that she was going to get a longer sentence. So maybe 8.5 years was, in some ways, a slight relief to her.
Outside the court, the question, would that be enough for the men Ellie Williams accused of rape and exploitation? If you were able to say anything to Ellie Williams today, what would you say?
Why? I want to know why you have done this to us. Because she's not only done it to me and Mo, she's done it to our families, and there's innocent children and kids involved in our families along with that, and she's destroyed their lives along with ours.
There is no explanation for why the defendant would commit these offences. She has gone to extraordinary lengths to create false accusations.
The judge just said that she did all of this for no reason. I find that very difficult to accept. When you read through the psychiatric assessments that are conducted for the purposes of the court, it's not as cut and dry, it's not as black and white as that.
Dr. Locke, commissioned by the prosecution, found Williams to have an immature personality and a considerable amount of anger. Dr. Lucy Bacon, commissioned by the defence, diagnosed complex post-traumatic stress disorder that may have arisen from childhood trauma.
I think it's quite interesting that one of the psychiatric assessments found that she was suffering with complex post-traumatic stress disorder that may have been the result of a traumatic childhood environment.
Dr. Bacon had several sessions with Ellie and said that while she avoided details, Miss Williams had hinted at abusive and unpleasant experiences during childhood.
It was revealed in court that social services had been involved in Ellie's life up to the age of 8 years. And so looking through all of the court documents and witness statements, and from the police footage that I've seen, it is possible to come to conclusions about someone like Ellie from a professional perspective. What we know with trauma is that if it's not dealt with at the time, is that it presents again in unhealthy ways. And so my opinion, should I say, based on the information that I've seen, is that whatever trauma that she has experienced in her childhood wasn't actually dealt with, and this has then resulted in it turning into this situation that it is now.
Do you know what you've taken as well? Alcohol? Yes. Weed? Weed. Yeah. Spice? Spice, okay.
Almost as if this is her way of working her trauma out. Things she wished she'd said, wished she'd done, actions she wished she'd taken.
And sex? Who had sex?
Her needs are being met through this behaviour. You can see it in the video footage.
And I'm going to get arrested tomorrow. No, I haven't arrested you yet, have I?
I think her drive to be heard and validated and consoled, and for this trauma to be healed for her by appropriate adults, outweighs any thought and consideration for the people that she made the allegations about. So she was trying to heal herself.
Might not believe it. I believe you. I promise to push my coke. I believe you. I do.
Yeah, I guess on some level I do feel a bit sorry for Ellie, whatever happened in her life that led her to make up these horrendous lies and ruin so many lives. And I think I feel frustrated with her as well, because her lies don't just impact her. It also has much wider consequences for other women when they go to the police and make these allegations. Or maybe they now won't go to the police, because maybe they'll think, well, what if I end up being arrested? What if I end up being the one on trial? And you know, I was recently covering another grooming trial involving men from Rochdale. And I was looking at the jury and I was thinking, how many of them will be aware of the Ellie Williams case? And might be thinking, well, there was that one girl in Barrow who made it all up. So I think she's really damaged. I think she's really sort of polluted the environment for other women who want to be believed.
The only way I can ever feel normal is when I come fishing. I just expected it to go back to normal, but it doesn't just go back to normal. I've had threats off people, I've had threats towards the kids. People shout at me in the streets. Some guy, he said, "You're a rapist, we don't want you in the area." And no matter how many times I tell someone I'm innocent, they're obviously thinking I've done it, so what's the point?
He goes fishing for his mental health, but even still, he's just sat there with his hood up, on his own, constantly looking over his shoulder.
I've referred myself with the community mental health team because I can't feel like this anymore, because it's just destroying too many things. It's destroying my relationship, my family.
Our future as a couple, I don't know where it's going to go, because Jordan is just so broken from all of this.
So the fact that even now, there's still a large group of people who believe that the true victim here is Ellie Williams, there's almost nothing you can say to these people. Trust in our institutions is perhaps at an all-time low. So people no longer trust the police. They don't trust the media to report the truth. They think that there's corruption at every level of society, and that would include courts and judges. So there's just this huge skepticism in the community. I mean, one of the many dismaying things about this case and watching it all unfold was how it was exploited by the far right for their own ends.
I'm not going to stray away from the fact that it's purely racial. Decades of propaganda, media fueling this bullshit that all Asians are groomers. And that's where people like me have to come out and expose them. Whilst defending Mo Rami online, I found that some of the people who were accusing him of being all these things, you're a drug dealer, you're this and that, they were active members of the National Action, a terrorist organisation, basically, Nazis. Also the Patriotic Alternative, who are notoriously racist. And they've been heavily involved in the move towards the far right in Barrow-in-Furness and further afield. So I made contact with Mo.
I still get hundreds and hundreds of hate messages. You dirty, stupid fucking nonce. I'd bounce your head clean off the floor. Wait till we find you and your noncy packy mates. I think it's time to hunt some packies, mate, don't you?
He's not the person he was. Depression, anxiety, you know, people don't believe that of him because his bravado is out there. But behind closed doors, it's broken him. You know, it got to a point where he'd smashed this bottle over his head and there was blood everywhere. He smashed the bottle and he basically went up to his throat. It was like that, split, because his head just couldn't take it. He couldn't take it anymore. I mean, do they not know the extent of what that damage has done? Oof. No, I don't think they do, and I don't think they care either.
Ultimately, there's not been any winners in this story, and it just still doesn't feel it's over. Joe Murphy gave me a bit of a lifeline, but we had only talked on social media. I wanted to go out and visit him.
Oh my God!
Oh, wow.
I can't believe it, man. Come here, you. What are you doing? Come on, don't be shy. Here you are. All right, lad. You all right? Yeah. Right, come on, let's go. Oh, I've got all nice and clean for you. Yeah.
Wow, who'd have thought? I know. I never thought it'd come to this when it all kicked off. I really never.
Oh, never thought it was such a long road.
We're not at the end of it yet either.
No, we're not.
Unfortunately.
It wasn't a good situation and I don't want anyone to go through it, but I've emerged, we've all emerged, me and my family, we've made stronger, more dedicated and, you know, better from it.
I apologise on behalf of all Barrow-ians that they fucking put you through that. It's a disgrace, man. Absolute disgrace.
I just can't thank you enough, mate.
No, come on.
I just can't. You.
Come here.
Come here.
Come on.
I'm going to do this, but I can't help it, you know.
You're right, buddy. You're welcome, buddy. I did what was right at the time. You know, and just thought it helped. And like I said, you don't need to go.
Thank you. Go on, these more jaws.